Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Whitney. I'm glad to have you. Please subscribe before you leave. Today's video is going to be a beginner's full face makeup. I did a previous video, which will be linked down below, on the essentials and what you would need to get started. But today's video is strictly going to be basic makeup, how to do exactly what I have on right now. I went in detail step by step on what to do. So if that interests you, please continue watching. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe, and I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the video. Okay, so as you can see, I went ahead and put my foundation on, and that's just because I already have a full video on my foundation routine. So I will have that linked down below in the description. So if you want to know how I do my foundation, just check it out there. But to get started, we're going to do concealer first. And today I'm going to be using the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. So what I like to do with my concealer, start at the inner corner and I bring it down just a little bit, just like that. Diagonal shape down. And then I'm just going to start filling under my eye just like that. And you want to do it in a triangular shape because this is highlighting the face as well as covering up any dark circles under your eye. And then I always put some up my nose. And then on my forehead, I start like right here, small, and then I slowly bring it larger. So kind of small to big there. I'm almost out of this. And then I put a little dab on my chin, just like that. So to blend this out today, I'm going to be using the Real Techniques sponge. And with the sponge, you just want to dab it. You don't want to move because we put the concealer in particular spots, so we want to keep it where it's at. So if we were to go in here and start moving, it would move the concealer, but if we dab, it just presses it into the skin. And that way it stays where we want it, but blends it in. Okay, and now that that is all blended in, I am going to set it with my setting powder as well, like I did my foundation. And I'm going to use the Coty Airspun here. You want to set anything liquid that you put on your face with a setting powder. That way it just keeps it in place and prevents it from moving throughout the day and creasing up. So I just take a nice fluffy brush. This one looks just like this. There's no particular name of this brush. And I just kind of dab it under my eye. I make sure to get right up in that creasy area because your concealer will crease if you don't set it. And what I mean by creasing is it'll set in those lines, the fine lines that are under your eyes. It will set there and build up. And I put a little everywhere that I put concealer. I'm going to put the powder. Okay, and our next step is going to be to contour, and for that, I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Contouring Palette, and I'm going to be using today a BH Cosmetics brush, the number 126. I bought this kit. I do not remember what the name of it is. I think it was the Sculpting and Shaping kit from BH Cosmetics, but this is one of the brushes in it. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you here. I'm just going to take my brush and swirl it into the color. And then I always want to tap off before I go in on my face. And that is just to get the excess powder off of the brush. Because you don't want to go in with a ton of powder and then it gets really hard to blend out. So with contouring, you want to carve out your cheekbones to kind of give yourself a little chiseled look. And my best suggestion is to pull your hair back and start your color at the very tip of your ear right here. So basically use that as your guideline on where to put your contour. So I'm going to start right there in that spot and just bring it down in a straight line from that angle. So just like that. And then from here, I'm just going to start blending it. And when you blend, you want to make sure that you blend upward and not downward because we want to keep our contour strictly to right here. We don't want to bring it down further. So by blending upward when you do it, and what I'm doing is going in circular motions, but I'm going this direction. Now if I was to go this direction, it would be blending it downward and just blend it on down. And then you want to keep blending until you feel like it has blended enough that it doesn't look muddy on your face. It doesn't look too like unnatural. You want to kind of have it blended in nicely. Okay, and I'm just going to do the same exact thing to the other side. This is another little tip that I like to use. If you suck your cheeks in, right where it starts to go in, you want to stop. You don't want to go any lower than that, if that makes sense with your color. So basically, I'm going to stop my color. I'm not going to go any lower with my color from here. Okay, and the best thing is to start with a small amount. And then if you feel like you've got this blended out and it's not enough of a contour, just go back in, tap off your excess, and start at the top again and just add just a little bit of color. You can always add color, but you can't take away. So I always suggest starting with a small amount and then building it up. I am happy with my cheekbones there, so we're going to contour the rest of our face. And it's the exact same way. Circle that into your color, tap off the excess. And so what we're going to do here is our forehead. And I always do a really light hand with this, like very, very lightly touch your forehead with this. And you're just going to do the very top of your forehead, like right there in that hairline. And keep it blending up. You don't want to blend down with it either. I just go in and tap just a little bit one time there, and then I'm going to do right below my chin line. Now you want a very little amount of product on this because this can very easily make your face look a different shade or your foundation look like the wrong shade. You want to use a little bit so that you prevent that. And you just do that right along your jawline there to just kind of define that jawline. If you have a double chin, you can kind of make it appear that you don't. The next thing is I'm just going to dab it in there like that, tap it off. And what I like to do to contour my nose, some people get a smaller brush. I just take and pinch the brush that I am using and line the outer part of my nose around that spot that I concealed earlier. And this just really gives your nose a defined look. I feel like if I forget to do this sometimes, my makeup just doesn't look fully complete. It looks like I'm missing something. So this is like an important step for me that I like to do. And then at the very end, I take it and rub it right along the bottom of my nose there. I am done. I just like to make sure and look at it really nice, like really well, and make sure that everything is blended nicely, because you don't want to look like you have mud on your face at all. You just want to be completely blended. And I just go in with that same brush after I've used most of the product on it and go over all the areas that I just did. Okay, and next is going to be blush, and for some reason I cannot find my BH Cosmetics blush brush. I know that I have one, but ever since I got my Morphe set in, I've been using it. So I'm just going to go in with the brush that I normally used, which is the Morphe Y4. Like I said, BH Cosmetics has a brush identical to this. It is just an angled blending brush. I'm sure it's probably called an angled blush brush. And I'm going to use the Wet n Wild color icon, and this is the shade Pearlescent Pink. So the same thing with blush. You want to take a small amount first. So for this, I'm just going to tap on it a couple times and then tap off my excess. So you got your contour line here. You're going to start at your apple of your cheek so you can make a smile, and that's your apple of your cheek. So you want to kind of start there. So I like to dab just a little bit on, and then I flick it outward. And then I like to take and rotate my brush and just blend all that together. And the same thing goes with blush. If you feel like you want a little bit more, you can go in and add some. I'm actually okay with this. I don't want too much blush, but I want enough that you can actually see it, and I feel like this is perfect. Okay, and the last step for our face is going to be to highlight, and I'm going to go ahead and use the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighting powder. Even though it is a little bit darker than I like, I just want to use it to show you guys. And this is another BH Cosmetics. This is just the fan brush, and so what I'm going to do is take my brush and from the side just take it and swivel it across the top of the product there, tap off the excess, and I'm going to apply this right at the top of my cheekbone, right above that blush that I just applied. And I'm just taking it and taking this fan brush back and forth. You guys can see how it highlights the face. Like I said, this is very pretty. I just personally prefer a lighter highlight than this. This is more of a natural highlight, and I like more of a blinding highlight, I guess. So that's the only reason why I don't particularly use this one that often, but it is still very pretty. And then what I like to do is just get a little bit more product onto the brush here, and I take it right at the tip of my nose. And then I like to take my finger and just kind of dab it right where we highlighted or used the concealer earlier. Just dab it up the nose. And then the last place that I like to highlight is right at my Cupid's bow. I just take it and put it flat and swipe it back and forth right at the top of that Cupid's bow, and it kind of highlights the very top of my lip, as you can see, just a little. Okay, so that is pretty much it for our face, and now we're going to move on to our eyes, and we're going to be using that All Naturel palette from Wet n Wild. This one is in Nude Awakening. And to start with, I'm just going to use I don't have all of my BH Cosmetics eyeshadow brushes because, like I said, once I got my Morphe brushes, I kind of started using those. But this is my favorite eyeshadow brush to apply my base. And this is the 129, BH Cosmetics 129. And now I should take a step backwards and tell you about eye primer. Eye primer can be important. I personally do not like eye primer. I use concealer, and what I just do is put a little bit of concealer on my eyeball and blend that out with that sponge that I used to blend out my concealer earlier. And that just evens out the skin around your eye so that you start with a good flat base. And so now what I'm going to do is take a color that is light, almost the same color as my skin, which is going to be that first shade here. And I'm just going to pack this brush pretty good and then tap off that excess. You guys can see that it was on there good. And I am just going to take this and pack it all over my lid. So because this is very light shade, I can go all the way to the brow bone and be okay with that. So I blend it all the way up. Make sure it's good and packed on so that concealer sits in place. That's basically the setting powder for the concealer. And when you add a good base like this, it starts your transitioning shades so that your next shade will blend easier. So now I'm going to go in with this. This is actually a Mirabella brush. It's just a fluffy brush here. Like I said, BH Cosmetics has all these brushes that you can get. And I'm going to go in with this shade right here. So what I want to do is build up a transition shade. I'm going to start with this in the crease. And the reason for a transition shade is that it gives yourself a nice transition basically from when you're adding your next colors. So basically we'll have a nice little ombre effect almost. Instead of going right in with a darker shade, this allows you to build it up. And so when I do my eyeshadow, I like to use windshield wiper motions when in my crease. And then when I'm on my outer corner, I use circular motions. So windshield wiper and circular motions are my two main motions with blending my eyeshadow. I do have a few other videos. I'll link those down below of some eye looks that I've done, and I give more tips and tricks on those. But one major trick is to hold the very end of your brush. That way you're not, when you're holding it up here, you're basically pressing all the color on at once. If you hold it out here, it allows it to disperse in an even amount, and it's easier to blend it out. So I feel like I have a good transition shade going, and I'm just going to take that same brush and I'm going to deepen up this a little bit, and I'm going to go in with this maroon shade, and I'm just going to tap on it here and then tap off that excess. And what I'm going to do is start at the very outer corner of my eye, and I'm going to use circular motions and just basically start to build up my outer corner. And I'm just going to keep doing the circular motions, and then I'll slowly start to work that into that crease. But I want to wait until almost all that product is off of my brush before I start that. And when I do, I will use those windshield wiper motions right there. And I'm not going to pull this, I'm going to keep it to right here. I'm not going to pull this darker shade in because we want to keep it in the outer corner. If you bring it all the way in, it kind of makes your eyes look a little heavy and not flattering. So when you're doing the next eye, you just want to do the exact same thing that you just did, because you want to keep your eyeshadow even and equal on both sides. So I'm just going to circular motion that, and then I'll sit back and look at it and see if I think it's even. If I feel like there's more color on one side than the other, I can fix it, but I actually kind of like what we have here, and so I'm going to let that go right there. And now what I'm going to do is start a shimmer on my lid here, and I'm going to go in with I think this golder shade here, and I'm just using a flat brush. When packing on the lid, you want to use a flatter brush. And so I'm going to go in and I'm just going to swipe it downward, but I'm still going to tap off that excess. And then I'm going to take and place it and just pat that color on. And as you notice, I'm keeping this right to the center. I'm not going to bring this color into the very inner corner because I want to use a lighter shade for that. So I'm just going to keep building this up until it's exactly where I want it. Okay, and I like that, so I'm going to go in with the lightest shade, and I'm just going to take another flat brush. This is just a little bit shorter. I'm only using a different one because this is going to be a lighter shade, and so I'm going to go in with this second shade here and just do the same thing, swipe down with it, tap off that excess, and then I'm going to bring this one into the very inner corner. And the way I do this is I'm just going to pat it and kind of blend it into that golder shade. It just gives us a nice little gradient from the two. So we go from dark to light in the inner corner. And then when I am done, I like to take a clean brush and just kind of blend everything together. So I'm just going to use this brush here. It's just a nice fluffy brush. There's no color on it. What I'm just going to do is take and just blend those three colors together very, very lightly. I'm just going to take it the very end of the brush, and blend those colors in so there's no harsh lines. And as you can see, I'm just tapping when I blend this time because I don't want to move the colors much. I just want to blend them in. And then if you ever think you have a harsh line at the top, you can just take it at the very, very tip of that and circular motions go around it. Okay, so I am happy with my eye look there, so we're going to move on to eyeliner. And like I said, I don't have a drugstore eyeliner right now, so I'm just going to use my Urban Decay All Nighter. And here's a tip, I do this sometimes I don't. When you go to put eyeliner on your waterline, you end up, pulling your eye down. Well, sometimes you get product off of your hand, so I like to take a sponge, pull that down, and I'm going to try and show you guys how I do this. You just want to put it in that actual waterline. Now, if you're uncomfortable with this, you can skip this part. Eyeliner is not required in any look. I personally wear eyeliner all the time. I feel like I look naked without it. But you just very lightly fill in that waterline there. And now, if by pulling it down like this, you're not touching your skin at all, some people say that will lead to wrinkles, and it probably will, but I just can't seem to do it without poking my eye out. So I like to do it that way. And then, so as you can see right now, I have a little bit of fallout, which is totally okay. Almost every eyeshadow palette, you're going to get some fallout. I just take that brush that I use to set my makeup with, a big fluffy brush, and wipe right up underneath that eye there. Now we're going to smoke out our lash line just a little bit, and when we do that, I'm going to be using just a flat brush here. I do suggest using two different flat brushes just because one color is going to be darker than the other. But we are going to start with that same exact shade that we started with, that very light shade. You want to do the same thing and build up your under eye so that your other shades blend nicely as well. So what you're going to do is just take that literally right to the base of your lashes. And you want to kind of keep it tight with the lashes because you don't want to bring the darker colors down too low because they will drag your eye and make it look like you have a sagging eye. And so next I'm going to go in with that same second shade that I did, which is that tan shade there. Tap it off, and I'm going to bring that right on the very outer edge, and then I'm going to bring that to the very center. I don't want to bring that into my inner corner at all because like I said, I don't want to drag my eyes down any, but I'm just going to bring that right to the very center. Okay, and then next we're going to go in with that maroon shade, and I am just, so what I'm going to do for this is I'm just barely going to tap tap off that excess because you don't want to get a lot to start with. You can definitely build this up, but you're going to do right at the outer edge there. Don't bring this anywhere other than the outer edge. I want to go in with that gold shade on a different brush because now I have the dark color on that one brush. I don't want to mix these, and I'm going to put that right in the center, right over top of that tan shade we did. And now I'm going to go in with that lightest shade right on the inner corner, and I'm just going to tap that on there right there. Okay, so last step for our eyes is going to be the mascara, and I'm going to be using that L'Oreal Voluminous Last Paradise. So when you got your mascara, you pull your tube out. I always like to brush off the excess on the very end because I tend to be a little bit messy with my mascara, and that's okay because I can show you how to get it off of you without ruining your makeup. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our brush and we're going to bring it to the very base. So what you want to do is look up and touch the very base of your lashes, just like this. And so you want to, the best way to do this is to go back and forth like that. That helps separate the lashes while also applying the product. So when your very first coat, just like I said, just wiggle it back and forth. It separates those lashes well. And then once you've got a nice little layer, then you can go in and start to build the layers. And what I like to do is put it at the base, and I take and roll my wand. And so you want to be careful not to push your lashes into your eyeshadow, just like I just did there. I'll show you how to get that off. But you just want to gently start building up the color on your lashes. And I don't normally dip back in for my top light coat. I just like to use one coat. I just build what I have on the brush. Okay, and so we got our first top lashes done, so we're going to do our lower lashes, and this is where it's easy to get messy, and it's okay if you do, because there's tricks to get it off without ruining your makeup, like I said. So with this, you're going to look up, and mascara position is mouth open. Why, I don't know, but it just seems like it helps. And you're going to take and put your wand at the very base of your lashes again and do the exact same thing. You just want to keep it from touching your skin because, like I said, this is very easy to get on the bottom of on your under eye there. And so you're just going to work that in just like you did your top lashes, and then once you got a good coat, you can easily just kind of brush it on. Now I don't roll my lower lashes like I did my top lashes. I just kind of dab it on there and make sure that all my lashes are separated. And good. So just like that. And as you notice, I did not dip back into my tube to do my lower lashes. I just like to use what's left over because I don't want too much on my lower lashes. I just like to keep them, you know, just at least a little bit of color, not a lot. Okay, so I told you how I was going to show you a trick on how to get the mascara off of your eye. What I used to do was take a Q-tip, get it wet, and take it off, but then I would be missing my makeup that I just took my time on applying. So I learned a trick. Like, you can take a spoolie. This happens to be on my eyebrow pencil. There are brushes, like I said, BH Cosmetics does have spoolie brushes. So on these spots here that have that mascara, you just lightly, very lightly take that spoolie to those areas and it'll take them right off. Okay, so our eyeshadow is done. Our look is done. All we need left is lipstick. So I'm going to use my Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit. This one is the shade Rebel Rose, and this one is the shade Nudie Patootie. I'm going to use two colors, and I will explain why as I'm doing it. So what you want to do when you're doing your lips, if you're not going to use a lip liner, which I rarely do, I like to start at my Cupid's bow. And what I do is, you see how my hand is like this? I have the wand in this hand and my pinky out because I like to use my pinky as a stabler and kind of put it on my cheek just to stable myself. And so I'm going to start right at the Cupid's bow. And what I'm going to do is basically just make an X almost. So there we have our Cupid's bow marked out, and then from there I'm just going to fill in my lips. So I'm just going to trace my natural lip line. Okay, and from here I'm just going to fill it in on the bottom lip. And then I rub my lips together. Fill in any spots that look like they are missing some color. So I have my full pink on there. And what I like to do with this Nudie Patootie is just apply it directly to the center and just dab it on there. And then I take and tap my lips. And then I'm going to take my finger and just dab that in. So doing that gives your lips a little bit of an ombre effect and also makes them appear a little larger. Okay, so we have completed our entire look. I feel like I explained to the best of my abilities. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me down below in the comments. I will gladly answer any. But for today's video, that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you liked this video, please like it down below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys in our next video. Bye.